Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and sitting across from me, smoking hot in her urban camo, Londa Sherwood Austin. And I gotta tell you, honey, it's not every day that somebody talks to me about how I flirt with you at the beginning of each show, but today it happened.
Oh my God. One
of our long guys, Brandon, actually said to me, "Hey, David, did you know that my favorite part of the show is hearing you hit on your wife?" And then Corby goes, "Yeah, dude, most people don't tell their girls how hot they are. You do it all the time. I love it too."
You do.
And we talked about it and laughed, and I got to tell you, I love those guys, and I'm sad that we're selling our Florida house.
Yeah.
Only because I enjoy seeing them.
We'll miss all the service people.
Yeah, I enjoy seeing them every time they come to the house and do their thing, and they do such a great job at Swanscapes LLC in Lakeland, Florida. If you need any work done at your house, landscape-wise, Swanscapes LLC, those guys are great.
They're great.
Corby and Brandon, awesome guys. Love them. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is an exciting episode for me personally because this is our final episode of 2021.
Yep.
We've come a long way over the last year doing this show, The Session.
I think,
with
though,
Londa
there are
and
some
David.
things people miss. They miss your fake commercials.
Okay. Okay. You haven't talked about hint water in quite some time.
I know. I ran out and I haven't gotten any more. I've been on a San Pellegrino kick.
You have been on a San Pellegrino kick, and I've got to tell you, it's slightly disappointing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's just carbonated water. So,
yes,
you know, it's not as fun as hint water where you have a hint, an essence of fruit in every sip.
That is good.
Hint water. I like
good.
hint water.
Pick some up at the grocery store. I don't
It's
know
like $1.04 per bottle now. I don't understand that math. If it were 80 cents, I'd feel much more happy about it.
Because you're hurting for 24 cents?
No, I'm just saying it seems a little costly. I think the heat that you put on it, advertising them early in the year, was quite successful for them.
Oh, my God.
Little heat,
Sure.
little fuego. I don't know. Is fuego's right? Fuego.
I don't know.
I think that means fire. All I know is no fumar. No fumar.
No fumar. What are we talking about today?
Well, this is going to be an exciting episode, and let me, before I get into billboarding the episode, tell you that The Session with Londa and David is brought to you by Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. If you're a business owner and your business isn't performing optimally, you owe it to yourself to pick up your phone right now and call this number. Are you ready? It's 509-491-2663. That number again is 509-491-2663. Londa Joanne Sherwood Austin can craft a system for your business, just for your business, to make it run more optimally, to make it run more profitably, and to make it run more professionally. She can do it. She can do it in her sleep, but she won't. She'll give you 100% of her attention. Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants, 509-491-2663, or email londa@sherwoodaustin.com.
That's a really good point. I don't do this because I have the time to do it. I don't do it because I need the money from it. I do it because I'm damn good at it.
And everybody should do what they love, which is why we got married, because I believe in that. Everyone should do what they love.
That's funny.
Little double entendre for
I
you
heard that. I heard that.
So,
can we talk a little bit about the holiday season?
It's the holiday season.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we can. We can absolutely talk about that. You know, if you watch the news in the mornings like I do, I watch every national news organization in the morning.
Religiously, my friends.
I'm very interested in their presentation of the information.
I sleep in.
Yes. Anyway, it's fascinating to me how the holidays have morphed from my childhood where they were supposed to be a fun, cuddly, exciting family time, warm around a fireplace,
Your family was different than mine.
to today. I'm talking about media coverage of holidays only.
Oh.
Today, there's tons of pressure to get your packages in the mail so you don't miss the deadline before
Yeah.
the world bursts into flames.
Yeah.
There's tons of pressure on people to host responsible holiday parties, wear masks indoors in their homes, unless the people that are invited have taken COVID rapid tests and are negative.
There's a lot of frenetic energy around it.
Well,
There's a lot of
absolutely.
hype and a lot of panic, perceived panic.
Perceived panic is a great way to describe it.
Yeah. Yep. And then we internalize all that and think, oh, shit, not only do I have to, I'm late getting my packages or my cards out, but now I remember I have to go to this party and it's at my work or it's at my partner's work or it's at my dad's house or it's at my grandparents' house or my brother's. And there's people there that
I don't want to
make
have to
me
talk
uncomfortable and make me feel insecure and now I'm panicked about that and I don't know what to bring and I don't know what to wear and we have to buy a new outfit and you have to buy new shoes to go with the new outfit and now and forget it, we haven't even touched on the kids programs and the kids holidays and the kids are off for school and all the pressure that comes along with that. And then just, if you're a blended family and you've got to do all the shuffling around of the people and it's utterly exhausting to think about. And I don't like it.
It sounds horrible.
Well, and part of it is that I do think about all the details
Yes.
of things. And so, and there are other people like me who do. They feel all those details and they feel overwhelmed and they just want to shut down and not show up, but they have to show up to get the present from grandma.
Right.
And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit and about the fact that, set some boundaries.
Well, and that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do, right? That's language that is hard for me to even understand.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, thank you is a complete sentence.
Is
When
it?
someone asks you, if you want to do something or
No,
if
thank you. You're
Yeah.
right. That is a complete sentence.
It is.
Huh. Okay. So setting boundaries is an okay thing. And I always think of when I hear someone setting boundaries, I always think, man, that's presumptuous. Always. And I don't know why.
What do you mean?
I just feel like if someone's coming to your home to be a guest, it's kind of laissez-faire. Let them do as they please. You know what I mean? You're there to entertain them, sort of. That's how I've always felt about that.
I understand what you're saying, but if they're coming to your house
And they're being, say, racist in their language or...
Oh, well, let's get right into this.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
You shut that shit down.
Yeah. You're good at that. You're really good.
It is uncomfortable.
Right.
But do you know what else I'm uncomfortable with?
What?
Them leaving and thinking I was okay with it.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So, yeah, I've had to do this.
Everybody's got an old relative who's a little angry.
A little like the prospector
And they
character.
say crazy stuff, right?
Right.
Everybody's got one of those.
Yeah.
At least one of those. And if you watch Saturday Night Live, every time they do a holiday special,
Yeah, there's
they
always
show that
character,
dynamic.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's always the person that brings up religion, and there's always the person that brings up politics,
Right.
And there's always, and you don't have to avoid those topics. I don't think you have to avoid those topics. What you do have to do, as the host especially, is to let people know what the boundaries are going to be.
And the parameters. That makes sense. Yeah.
I'd love to be able to have this discussion at this party. I want to remind everyone that we're not going to fight. We're going to all be open-minded, and we're here to learn more about the ideas of the person across from us.
I've never heard anyone say anything like that at a party, but I have for
I've said it.
sure heard you say to somebody, "You know what? We're not going to use that language in this situation. We're not going to do it. Shut it down." I've heard you do that. And
Yeah.
that's
And you've also
it's instantly uncomfortable for me because I, want everybody to feel super, super good. But every single time I've ever seen you do that, it's a better situation because the person who was doing it didn't realize that it was too off color or too aggressive.
You've also heard me say, listen, I don't want you to be upset with me.
Mm-hmm.
But every time you say something like that, it hurts me.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I just need you to be aware that I'm really uncomfortable with that kind of talk.
It's interesting to me to not feel like I have to apologize for you when you speak. It's a different world for me in this relationship.
Well, I try to say what needs to be said, wrapped in kindness if possible.
And you always do. You're very kind. And I think that's really interesting, and I'm used to biting language. Mm-hmm. I'm used to a tone that is a little offensive and having to apologize for that for my partner. And that's not, it's a different dynamic. I always brace for it in those situations you.
I know when we first got together, we'd be in a restaurant and my food would come out wrong, which it often does because I have all kinds of special dietary restrictions, right? So I have to give the poor kitchen, any kitchen has a laundry list of what to not put on my food, right? and I get it, and I'm used to it coming out wrong.
Right.
I just kind of expect it. So it comes out wrong, and I've got to send it back for correction.
Mm-hmm.
For the first several months, like I could almost feel you clench up your whole body.
Yes.
Waiting for it. But, like I said, I try to just, hey, I know this isn't your fault. You didn't cook the food, and I know it's a lot to ask. But this isn't right.
Right.
And here's how to make it right. And I don't mind waiting. You take your time, and just as long as we get it right, that's fine.
And as long as the waitress doesn't roll her eyes at you like she did when you asked her for mayonnaise at Francesca's or whatever that place is called. What's that place called? Fresco's. I always want that place to be good, and it's just not. I feel bad saying it. Never is.
So I want to give some more examples, though, of how you can stop the conversation. For one thing, if you don't want to be confrontational, you can just say to the person, thank you for sharing your opinion, and get up and walk away.
Okay.
And you don't have to do it in a snotty way.
Right.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing your opinion.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm always open to other ideas.
Yeah.
And then you get up and you I'm going to go fill my cup.
Right.
Or I'm going to go get out of the situation, and then avoid getting back in the situation.
Sure.
It's not that hard to avoid conflict.
Well, at work it's harder, I think, than in a personal situation, right? I'll never forget the day when I had to interview David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, at the Louisiana Network, and he followed me in through the newsroom, walked into my office, and picked up a picture of little tiny baby Caitlin and her blonde-haired, blue-eyed mother, and looked at them and looked at me, and his bodyguard was with him, and you could see the pearl handle of his revolver under his jacket, and he looked at me and said, "Now that's a good-looking family you got there, Mr. Austin." I didn't know how to take that. Number one, is he being kind of threatening? I don't know. I'm an impartial journalist, though.
That's an easy situation. Thank you, and you move on.
Well, I said thank you very much, and then I told that story to my friend Jim Engster, who was also in the building during that, and we had a good laugh about how David Duke was a little creepy that day, and he was.
And I'm talking about a little more triggering situations when gathering with family or friends or whatever for the holidays. I'm talking about something that's not potentially implied, but something that's just right out in the open.
Right.
Give
me an example of something one of your older relatives may have done or said that was shocking to you.
Seriously,
I want to know. I want to hear it. I want to feel it.
Well, I can tell you some of the things I've heard. It's not my older relatives. Everybody in my family's dead, but things that I've heard even out and about and from even business work conversations or the lady who cut my hair this morning because I couldn't get in to see my girl, Andrea, at the Bloom Room.
Right.
Said some crazy shit about political stuff and how we just need to get Trump back in this office and this country's gone to hell in a handbasket. And when she found out I was from Washington State, y'all are just plumb crazy up there. No wonder you came to Florida where we got a level head. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
I gotcha.
Whether I agree with her or not, and no one will ever know because I don't share my political views, those are polarizing statements, ma'am.
Absolutely.
That need to not be shared.
My favorite thing that you say...
And your grandparents will say shit like that at the holiday gathering.
They will. They absolutely will. Anyway, my favorite thing that you say when anybody brings up Trump or whether or not the election was rigged is you say, I'll tell you what, he was great for my business while he was in office.
Yeah, I do. I do because he was. They don't know if I voted for him or I didn't.
Right.
Because I don't talk about that, but I do talk about the results of what happened.
Right.
His policies were great for my business while he was in office. And you know what? My business hasn't been hurting so far this year either.
Speaking of polarizing political talk, I know you don't want to go down this road, but I saw a spectacular softball interview on Sunday Today a week ago with Hillary Rodham Clinton. And I got news for you. She's running again. Joe Biden's not running next time. Hillary Clinton is going to run.
Okay.
The interview, she all but said, if you vote, well, she actually said this, if you vote for Trump next time around, you're saying goodbye to democracy in this country as you know it.
Okay, and now
and
here's
then
the great...
she said, but you know, the division in the Democratic Party right now, nobody can get anything done this way. I'm telling you now, she was saying, you guys screwed up. I should be president.
Imagine that David, you know him as Uncle David, and he's at the holiday party, and he just said that because we did go to a holiday party, and he did say that.
What did I say?
You shared that very thing about that.
Oh, about the interview.
At a dinner party we just went to.
But again... Now, I didn't tell you what my political opinion is.
No.
I just told you about the interview.
But those are the kind of things that I think often an appropriate response is, thank you for sharing, because I'm always want to keep my mind open to lots of different ideas.
Sure.
Can I get you anything to drink? I'm going to get something to drink. You got to exit that.
Yeah, you got to get out of that.
And so think about the things that you want to ask people about themselves, and think about the things you want, like have a game plan. Think about the things you want to share about yourself before the party. And I highly recommend do not get inebriated. You think that it will help you relax, and it will, but probably too much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep your wits about you if you know that you're going into a situation that could be volatile.
And this harkens back to our episode where we talked about how sometimes you get confrontational when you've had more than 2 drinks.
I get a little combative.
Yes.
And that's your fault.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Because I give you extra drinks. That's why it's my fault.
No, it's your fault because you signed up for this.
I love it. I'm thrilled out of my mind. No, I camped out overnight for those tickets. I loved it. It was like waiting for U2 in 1984. But
if you, one of our kids, I won't say which one, but they're really good at planning ahead what the conversation is going to be about. So they will actually strategize like, okay, I know that Grandpa likes to talk about this, this, and this. Okay, so I'm going to ask him this question, and then I'll say, tell me more about that, and that'll get it. And then he'll say some things that will, if I tune in and I'm curious, he'll give me other clues to ask, go deeper into it. And he likes to talk about this, and so I'll ask him about that. Or Grandpa was never in, or was in the Coast Guard, but I've never really asked him about that. I bet I could get him talking about that. It would make him happy to talk about it and to know that I'm interested in it, and it avoids a political or a religious conversation or whatever.
Or it dovetails nicely into that.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm just saying there are ways to de-escalate the situation. And then sometimes you just have to say, that is completely unacceptable, and this conversation is over. You turn on your heel and you walk away, and it is okay to do that.
And it is, but it depends on what the conversation is, right? Somebody saying they saw an interview with Hillary Clinton and she clearly looks like she's going to run again is not what we're talking about.
No. We're talking about really offensive things I don't even want to say.
Like racist stuff?
Yeah, fully racist, a racist remark. The use
culturally inappropriate
the use
things.
Of the N-word, let's say.
I have no tolerance for that.
Disparaging remarks against the LGBTQIA plus community would set me off and has.
Absolutely.
These are human beings. Right. And even if you have a political conversation, you're talking about human beings who are maybe spouses, have children, let's bring it back to the human factor.
Sure.
Anyway, that's what I'm saying.
And it's always appropriate to be kind. So
that's what I'm saying. Take the pressure off yourself by maybe planning ahead a little bit.
Okay.
And wear more comfortable shoes and clothes because it'll help relax you.
And for sure, don't talk about the Third Reich. I mean, that's funny. You're smiling, but you're not seeming amused.
Well, no, because I gave a really good tip there.
You did. Go ahead and give it again, just in case somebody heard my joke instead of paying attention.
For the ladies.
For the ladies.
Wear a little bit more comfortable clothing and shoes. It'll make you less nervous and uptight.
Oh, that is interesting. Wear
something that you're really comfortable in. It can still be really dressed up and, high heels and, sexy, whatever you want, but just make sure that you're comfortable in it.
Speaking of sexy.
Nope.
That glittery
we were not.
Dress.
We did not take a picture.
That you wore the other night to that Christmas party that we went to. Oh.
Mm-hmm. That was a great example, actually, because it was a plunging neckline. It was pretty short. I wore tall heels with it, but I was very comfortable.
And you were covered from head to toe practically because you had long sleeves on. I mean, that dress is not suggestive.
No.
But because it's a glittery cocktail dress, it definitely looks...
It was festive.
Spectacular on you.
So I'm just saying, coming back to the point, take some pressure off yourself.
Okay.
And, if you just want to sit in the corner and not really engage a lot of people, it's okay to do that.
I think if you sit in a corner quietly at a party, before you know it, people will gather around you, and now you're holding court at the party.
Well, we went to a Christmas party where I wore that sparkly dress, and I didn't really know anybody there.
Right.
We were invited.
Just Jimmy and Alice, our cousins.
Yeah, and those are the only people we knew. So it's a couple of rooms full of people that I don't know. And there's this thing that I do sometimes, and it came up in my Facebook timeline memories the other day from 2 years ago, I think, at a Christmas function that we were at, and I was hiding in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Catching my breath and just taking a moment away from the crowd. And I made a post about it. And it resonated with a lot of people.
A lot of people said good things, and only one or two people were jerks about it.
Yeah, one person private messaged me that I was in embarrassment to my children. But that's all right. They thought...
Was it your ex-husband?
No. They thought that... I faked looking like I was sitting on the toilet. Yeah, I wasn't really, but anyway. So at this dinner party or Christmas party, I excused myself and went into the restroom. I didn't go to the bathroom. I just stood in there for a minute thinking, okay, you got to get it together. How are you going to make it through this party? Who can you engage in a conversation with that will feel interesting? Okay, there was that table of people over in the kitchen. Yeah, I said when I said hello to them, they seemed really friendly. Okay, because I just felt super out of my element. I was a little panicky on the ride there because I was unsure. And I'm being very vulnerable right now, and I'm hoping other people can relate to this.
I'm fascinated by the words you're saying because I cannot relate, but I think it makes perfect sense.
Right.
Because when I go to parties with people that are like their work parties, they always say things like, oh, I'm so sorry that I had to leave you alone for blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I'm thrilled when that happens
Right.
because I love what you did and I do what you ended up doing at the party, and I want you to keep going and tell us what you did.
Yeah, so then I came out of the bathroom and I went over to that table, and there happened to be an open chair, and I asked one of the people who had been, greeted me nicely, is this chair open? Do you mind if I sit? And they said, no, go ahead. And then I just started forming people.
Now, it didn't hurt that you look like a movie star. It didn't.
Well, it actually does, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because in that kind of environment, and I guess I'll go a little more into it, I had asked if people would be dressing up. What kind of party is this? Is it a dress-up party? Is it cocktail attire? What is it?
Right.
And they said, yeah, some people will be dressed up, but you can wear what you want. Well, when we came in the door, nobody was dressed up.
The kid who answered the door was wearing shorts.
And a T-shirt and a baseball cap.
That's correct, on backwards.
That's fine.
Perfect.
I just didn't know, or I would have probably dressed down a little bit. Although, to be fair, it's the only holiday party we're going to this year. So I might have just gone ahead with the sparkly dress. But that's something to bear in mind. You're fascinated by the shiny object. You want to get closer to it. But when you walk into a house full of people and everyone is very, very casual and you're like over the top, people actually don't want to talk to you.
That's interesting that you say that because I for sure love being the best dressed person at an event because then I get attention and people are asking me, oh, did you come from a so-and-so? And I love that actually.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's different for women.
I guess. Yeah.
But these people were really nice, and
everybody there was delightful.
Yeah, and they and then I just formed everyone. You get people talking about themselves, and since we're talking about this, if you haven't listened to our previous podcast where we talked about the form method is when you ask. It's a method for building rapport with people, and it's when you ask people about it stands for family, occupation, recreation, and then the M or D, sometimes it's Ford, is for message, and that's when you're in sales and you have a message to share with them.
Yep.
But
if it's the D, it's dreams.
Right.
Then you find out about their family, their occupation, their recreation, or their dreams and their dreams.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun deal.
Yeah.
And you do it, I think you do it as a way to be more comfortable in a situation and get to know people. And I know it's very important to you to be asked about you. So I think you place a lot of value in asking people about themselves.
I do.
More than most people.
Yeah, I do. It's people are most comfortable when they're talking about themselves, and I always want to make people feel comfortable.
I like that.
In my space. And you learn about people, and and there was a couple there that I learned got married right before we did,
right.
And after a really short time together, and so we had a lot in common, and you only find those things out when you're quiet and ask questions about other people, and you try to draw them out and let them tell their story, because people are dying to tell their story, but most people don't want to hear it.
And am I crazy, or did Patricia look a lot like Jamie Lee Curtis?
Her hair was similar.
And the glasses.
That's where it ends.
The whole thing, the whole presentation was very Jamie Lee Curtis.
I don't know.
And a lot of fun. What a fun group of people.
Yeah.
Really
we had a great time. But
I really enjoyed coming over to that table and being able to sit down and interact
Yeah.
with them. By the time I got there, you had already won the favor of everyone at the table, and people were congratulating me on you being my wife. And I love that.
Well, they'd all fallen in love with me because all I did was ask them about themselves.
I got you.
And it's just easier, to do that. It helps me not be nervous. If I can get people talking about themselves, then I don't have to talk about me. And I had a trainer one time who said, and this is a great line, if you're really nervous about sharing anything about yourself, or maybe you're in an environment where you don't feel comfortable sharing anything about yourself, this was the line that she used. She would form people, and if they said, well, tell me about you, she'd say, oh, I'm boring. Tell me more about blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And
I've heard you tell our stylists at the salon to use that line if they don't want to talk about themselves.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm boring. And then you just get right back on something they already said to you and get them talking about themselves again.
What I like to do whenever anybody asks me about myself is I pick a crazy accent and just start talking as this person that I like to be, and nobody knows.
You're crazy. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is taking the pressure off of new year, new you.
Every single person is, so I got my New Year's resolutions. I'm going to stop drinking wild turkey and using prostitutes. You hear that kind of thing.
The prospector, everyone. Thanks for stopping by the studio and visiting with us today.
I dang to you. I'm going to stop doing the wild turkey and prostitutes. It's just not working for me this year, and I'm going to get new pair of overalls.
There you go. You would think as business consultants, we would, and as a business coach for almost 20 years now, that we would be all about the New Year's resolutions and the goals for the new year.
Nope.
And the whole new year, new you. And I'm here to tell you it's a pack of crap.
It is a pack of crap. And
Yep.
here's the thing. Most people make these plans, and they make grand plans that always fail.
Right.
There's a great book by a guy who's kind of a jerk, but the book is really good. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and I know you don't like him very much, and I think he's a little bit of a...
But I do. I think you can learn something
Yes,
from everyone
yes.
and never throw the baby out with the bathwater.
That's exactly right. But his book, The Compound Effect, talks about the benefit of making small changes.
I always say it's the small shifts.
changes over time. Statistically...
Yep.
work much better than huge changes right now.
Yes.
Because it does have a compound effect. For instance, there was a study that he did as part of his book, or he followed a study, and it might have been in Norway. I don't remember. I just remember him talking about it at this conference. And he was talking about how these three guys who are very similar demographics, work at the same place, have the same aged kids, do all the same stuff, have similar diets, made minor changes, right? One guy decided he was going to eat one less candy bar a week and park 10 parking spaces away and walk farther to the building. Another guy was going to eat the same but park farther away, and another guy was going to eat more and be more aggressive with his exercise, right? The guy who gave up one candy bar and parked 5 spaces away was the one that was successful the most. Because, it's 100 calories. I'm going to drop 100 calories a week right now. I can do that. That's one candy bar.
Right.
And park just a little farther away.
Right.
By the end of the period of time that they measured these three people, he was down like 40 pounds. And the other guys gained weight. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So just small shifts. They make much more sense than these. I'm going to go to the gym every single day at 5 a.m.
Yep. The sweeping changes almost never last.
Right.
But small shifts make a big difference. And that's why you're seeing apps created for small shifts.
Right.
For instance, rather than, there's a big movement right now for sober lifestyle.
Okay.
Right.
And that's extreme.
To you, right. But what's happening is I see that the apps that have been developed to help with a sober living, sober lifestyle, aren't just like tracking how many days you're drink free.
Okay.
They have plans. You have options that you can choose if you just want to drink a little bit less.
Okay, that's
right?
interesting.
So
is this something you're exploring for yourself?
No, I've just looked at it.
Okay.
And it's the same with some fitness apps are kind of going toward that move as well. Just small shifts. I just want to move a little bit more.
Right.
I just want to eat a little bit less or, one shift or, whatever.
I think Weight Watchers did it best when they came out with smaller plates. I'm not kidding. When they made smaller plates, people still filled their plate, but it was much smaller, and not much. But we have some Weight Watchers plates at our house that are between the normal plate size and the small plate. They're in between. And I got to tell you, you can't load that thing down. Genius. Takes no effort at all to use a plate like that. Mm-hmm. You fill it. You feel full at the end, even though it's not a great big plate like you're used to.
Yeah.
Genius. Small shifts.
So the same thing is true in your business, and in your work. Mm-hmm. If you want to increase your production for the next year, then hold one more appointment a week.
And what does it mean to increase your production, right? It may mean something different to
accomplish more.
Better, some
better
people
results.
Some people want to increase their production to make more money. Other people want to increase their production to have more output of things, right? It depends on what you're trying to do.
Right.
If you're building canoes and you want to increase your production, maybe you want to build one extra canoe, right?
Right.
That is a different level of commitment than someone who wants to make an additional $100,000, right?
Yeah,
unless that's one expensive canoe.
Yeah.
So, it depends. And one thing that I've always found that helps salespeople specifically is to make their goals, to build their goals around what they want to have rather than how many people they want to see.
Well, my goals have always been built around what I want to have, what I want to do,
right?
Who I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Money-wise, if you know what your income needs are, and if you don't feel like your income needs have been met in the past, what you really need to do is figure out exactly how much it costs to be you. Once you know exactly how much it costs to be you, I got to tell you, that's some pretty good motivation to be able to either make more money or choose a different lifestyle and choose a different career.
And what do you mean by, just so people understand what it costs to be you?
Well, let's say you have an $1,800 mortgage. So on the first of the month, it costs $1,800 to be you, right? Let's say you have a $500 car payment. Now on the first of the month, it's $2,300 to be you. Electricity and utilities at your house, let's just say $5,000 or $500 a month. Now it's 23 plus 500, 2,800 bucks a month to be you. Now you've got credit card debt that we've got to pay off. So now it's $3,300 a month to be you. And it grows and grows and grows based on your debt service. Yeah. Yep. Your debt service and your expenses, right? Well, I happen to know it's pretty darn cheap to be me because I don't have consumer debt at all.
Right.
And I've got an RV, I've got a house, and I've got a car. I could pay off the car today. I'm not gonna because it's cheap money, right?
Right.
So I know that it costs around $3,000 a month to be David Austin, right? You need to have $3,000 every single month or stuff's going to start sliding and going backwards.
Right.
That is a low bar of income needed to be able to sustain yourself. Right. So we have investments and we buy stuff that's, we bought a new vacation home, that kind of thing. We can do that because we know exactly how much goes out. Right. So we know exactly how much has to come in. Right. And everything over what has to come in can be gravy.
Yeah. And it costs me about $2,000 a month to be me.
There you go. That's right. So
I've kept my personal expenses very low.
Right.
Yep.
And that's great. So all in our household, it only costs about $5,000 a month to be us. So I could get a job at the Grand Cinema in Lafayette, Louisiana as the assistant manager specializing in popcorn and projections.
No, you can't.
You could get a job as the super cute ticket girl, and we can afford our lifestyle. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
That's not what we do, but that's once you know what it costs to be you, you can do anything.
Right.
And so if you decide, you know what, I want to own a $200,000 boat. I want to own a $200,000 boat. And it's going to cost me, if I put it on credit, it's going to cost me $2,100 a month for that boat. Well, you know exactly what you need to earn to be able to pay that $2,100 on that boat on top of what you have. I'll never forget when I told Les Savage that I had all of my debts paid off except for my house. And this is what he said to me. Oh, we need to get a boat. We need to get an RV. Let's get you motivated. Malcolm Adams told me something very similar years early.
And a lot of people say that. I'm motivated by not having debt.
Right.
So I like to see those numbers and the accounts grow.
It's nice to not have to worry about making a credit card payment.
Right.
And that's different in our lives now than it used to be. We both used to have to pay back debt that other people had, and now we don't. And isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's great. And one of the things that I did to be able to do that is I knew that I was good at sales.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from selling a product where I made a $20 or $30 commission per sale.
Mm-hmm.
I took my exact same skill set and applied it to selling a product where I make an average of $7,500 per sale.
Right.
So sometimes it's a shift like that, and that was not a huge, shift for me. It was really a pretty small shift.
Right.
Because I knew I had the skill set. So sometimes it's like that, so you don't know what that little shift can lead to rather than big, huge, sweeping changes.
That's exactly right. And that's exciting stuff. And, I didn't think this conversation was going to be about what can you do differently in the coming year as a professional person, but I think you may have sparked some thought for some people.
Well, I hope so. Because listen, there's a whole lot of people that are just grumpy.
Right. And
if you don't know them, go get on a plane. Go fly somewhere, because they're all at the airport and on the airplanes.
When I was in radio sales making 25% commission, right? I wasn't trying to have a $400 special on spots. I was trying to sell an $80,000 annual to a company so I could make more money.
Right.
So find a high margin product and sell it, fulfill the needs of your customers, and the money will be there.
Right. Well, what I was saying is there's so many people that are so grumpy. They're so unhappy in their life. You're not stuck in your life. I don't care what your circumstances are. Tell me about it, and I can show you where we can start to shift you out of that and into something else.
That's interesting that you say that.
If you don't like your life, you're not stuck. You can make small incremental shifts into something different.
You're not a prisoner, and this isn't a life sentence.
That's right.
If you're unhappy,
that's right.
Think about when you were happy and try to make your life look like that again.
Right. And if you are the new year, new you kind of person, and you start a new workout routine every year on January 1st, start now.
That's not a bad idea.
Start now. Why not start now?
Okay, I'm calling Red Laurel when I get off the show, and we're going to get moving.
I'm just saying, take the pressure off yourself. We all survived this year, and if you survived it and you're doing pretty well, then hallelujah, because this was a hell of a hard year for me.
I got you. Yes, you've had a lot of physical.
It was a nightmare year for me, but there was a lot of great things that happened this year, and I was probably in nature more this year than any year ever before.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Walking-
and that was incredible.
Walking the Circle Bar B.
Yeah, all the hikes that we
ranch.
did, all of the Crystal Springs in Florida that we've visited, going to the beach so often, you know, and people might say, oh, well, lucky for you. No, we designed it that way.
That's exactly right.
We structured our lives to be able to do that. And let me tell you, it doesn't come without a price.
That's true. That's true. We don't see our kids as much as I'd like to.
Right.
We don't see our friends back in Washington as much as I'd like to. Every 6 weeks is nice, but it's not like you're there every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There is.
So there are actual hard costs of changing your life that you find out about.
Well, it's like when I was talking to a client just this weekend about that is purchasing a home in Washington State and is under contract. We had the inspection and we're looking through the inspection response and negotiating, you know, repairs and that kind of thing. And I said, you know, one option is ABC. Another option might be XYZ. And then you've got this option over here that's 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And I said, no matter which option you choose, there's calculated risk.
That's right.
And that's true of everything you do in life.
Absolutely.
No matter which option you choose, there's calculated risk. And, you know, this has worked out pretty well for us. And
well, it's been spectacular. And the thing that I wanted to talk about during this, our wrap up for 2021 episode, is how pleased I have been over the course of this year watching you get better from these physical setbacks you've had and being able to hold your hand through them.
Aww.
It has been my absolute pleasure being your husband through this last 12 months. It's been a treat and a delight for me, and I know that you had some rough times, you know, COVID, cancer twice. I mean, you've had some stuff this year, but it's been a real treat to be able to be there with you. And I love you, and I'm very excited that you let me do it with you.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you.
Well, you know what? I used to be frustrated when people would say, David, I appreciate you, because most people who say that don't know me well enough to appreciate me. They appreciate what I've done for them.
Just meeting you, someone can appreciate you.
I guess. But I know when you say you appreciate me, you do appreciate me.
For sure.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes my heart happy. Well, there you go.
You know what? 2021, we're grateful to be here.
2021 is almost in the rearview mirror, and 2022 is going to be awesome.
Unbelievable.
You don't have to radically change your life to have a better year, but if you make some small shifts, you're going to get there.
Yep.
For Londa, Sherwood, Austin, my name's David Austin, and this has been The Session with Londa and David, brought to you by Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. No job is too big, no business is too small. Call Londa today at 509-491-2663. That's 509-491-2663. See you next year.